this is not the first time that I have arrived in a different country to address a problem that isn't exclusively or specifically an American problem, right? And so I have some experience in dealing with the kinds of questions that arise. You're an outsider. Why are you coming here to talk to us about this? Or another version of that question is, well, you're not African. Why are you talking about Africa, right? And I've gone through this before. Like, what was I doing in the UK, or why am I in Cuba if I live in the United States, or what when I was doing the Caged Amerindian project with Guillermo, why were we in Australia? And my approach to this is, has a lot of different elements, but one is simply to say this is not just African history; it's German history also. But it's also world history. I mean, colonialism is not a specifically German issue. Mistreatment of natives is not a specifically German thing, but I can find examples that are particularly pertinent in this context, and that seemed appropriate to do here. With the Caged Amerindian project, we were looking at a practice that was very widespread across different colonial territories. And what we had to do was to go and speak to representatives of the cultures that had been put on display, to talk to them about, what were their, what did they have to say about it. And in each case, I talked to, Native American tribal leaders. We had to negotiate with Australian Aboriginal activists who worked with the Natural History Museum there. We had different people to address, in addition to having to deal with governmental people in many different contexts, including Washington, to be able to put the piece in different contexts. And, in each case, I was never told you can't talk about this. We were always told you need to do these things, right? You need to acknowledge the way in which this affected us, or you need to avoid doing things in a particular way, or you are not here to pretend to be us, but you can speak about the situation. So, I've kind of been in these kinds of conversations for most of my professional life, trying to find a way to work together, right? And to share knowledge. So that's how I approach it. In the same way here is to find people who have a stake in the history, who have an interest in the history, and to find a way to make peace with that, right?